Hello my friends, welcome to my review of the brand new Kat Von D Saint and Sinner eyeshadow palette for holiday of 2017. I have lots that I want to share with you about this palette. Lots of things, including who I definitely don't recommend this for and who I definitely would recommend this for. So if you're interested in that, stay tuned. If you've never been to one of my review videos, they are quite long. I will be putting timestamps down in the description in case you'd like to skip ahead to a specific section that happens to be your favorite. Everyone seems to have their favorites. They're all linked down below in case you want to skip ahead. So let's go ahead and start off with what this palette is. This is Kat Von D's holiday release for 2017. She always comes out with an eyeshadow palette every single holiday season. They are notoriously amazing. This one is very interesting. We're gonna say it's very interesting, and let's get into that. Before we get into the nitty-gritty, just a little bit about Kat Von D as a brand. This palette is sold at Sephora and also at katvondbeauty.com. It is $62 and you do get 24 eyeshadows that are separated into two sides. You have the Saint side and then you have the Sinner side. This is supposed to be your softer looks and this is your more bold looks. Of course, you've got the two mirrors on the side. All the artwork on here was done by Kat Von D and it was also done kind of also to promote her perfumes coming back, which are also called Saint and Sinner. So it's kind of a cross-promotional kind of thing with that theme. Kat Von D is a cruelty-free brand. They've always been cruelty-free, and I do believe they're trying to go more vegan. This palette is a vegan palette, and this product was made in Canada. So the idea behind Inside is it's supposed to represent human duality, which Kat Von D is very deep and she's very intellectual and philosophical and all of that. So it doesn't surprise me that she's going really deep with the meaning behind this palette. And as you read the names of the shadows, you'll notice a lot of nods to Catholicism. According to the website, Kat Von D says that there are 3 finishes in this palette: the electrifying metallics, velvety mattes, and shimmering pearls. But then she says that there are 2 new special effect glimmer shades, and she does say where those are located, which is at the very top of the palette. These are the glimmer shades. If you bought the Kat Von D Shade and Light Glimmer palette, the formula of these two is very, very similar to the formula that's in there if it's not the exact same formula. So talking about value for a bit, it is a $62 palette like I mentioned earlier. They're 24 1-gram pans, so therefore we're paying $2.58 per gram and also $2.58 per pan. Now that is a reasonable price for a Sephora brand product. I like to see eyeshadow palettes at Sephora, when I think of them being a good deal, under $3 per gram. So you are getting a nice amount of product for your money here. That's in comparison with kind of its peer groups in Tarte and Too Faced and Lorac and shadows like that. We'll talk a little bit about ingredients in this palette. Really nothing out of the ordinary in here. I've seen all of these ingredients before. Things that you might want to note is there is dimethicone. I don't worry about dimethicone as much in eyeshadow as I think about it in foundations and things, because dimethicone can kind of clog pores for some people, but I haven't really heard anybody say dimethicone clogs their eyelid pores. So I don't really think about it there, but I know some people are sensitive to dimethicone. So there's that in case you're sensitive. Also, there is talc in here. I know some people are sensitive to talc, so just so you know. There is mica in here, and in my last video I talked about that someone had mentioned something about child labor and mica, and there is a whole bunch of information on the internet if you Google it about mica and child labor. But what it seems like, and I could do a whole video on this if you're interested, based on, you know, I'll just do a bunch of research and tell you what I found. Basically what's happening is there's some countries where there are illegal mica mines where children are working, but this is how their families afford to live and survive. So if you don't buy the mica, then the kids get laid off and then they don't have any money. So it's one of those really difficult situations about whether you boycott mica because of the child labor, but then are you cutting off your nose to spite your face kind of situation where now the children don't have money and then they don't have food. So it's a really, really tricky situation. You just have to kind of look inside your heart and decide whether you want to buy products with mica. But just know that mica is a product that is in so many makeup products. I mean, any makeup product that has shimmer in it, it probably has some form of mica in it. I will leave some links to some videos and articles and stuff down in the description below in case you want to read more. The last ingredient I want to talk about is phenoxyethanol. That's the preservative in here. Some people are sensitive to it. There are no parabens in here. Oh, one more thing, and that is that some of these shades are not lip safe, 7 of them in particular. There are some pigments that are eye safe but not lip safe, and there's been a lot of questions in the comments about that. Well, I kind of equate it to like hot peppers. Like you would eat hot peppers and you'd be good, but you wouldn't want to put them in your eyes. Same thing with like saline drops. You can put those in your eyes, but you don't want to ingest saline. There are different ways that things kind of get into our body that are safe one way but not another way. So in this way, the eyeshadows are said to be eye safe by the FDA, but they are not found to be lip safe. I'm assuming something having to do with ingesting the product. So some people like to put eyeshadows on their lips to kind of alter the color of their lipstick or to create a shine. So I want to let you know which ones are not lip safe. And those are, I'll put the picture up right now. We have Worship, Vestment, Ministry, Exodus, Cathedral, Rosary, and Exorcism. Those are the shades that you don't want to pat on your lips. All the rest of them seem to be lip safe based on the pigments listed. All right, so now that we've kind of gone into the nitty gritty of this palette, let's go ahead and show you some swatches. I do have swatches on 2 different skin tones this time. I have myself, which is a lighter skin tone, and I have my friend Jenny, who is a medium skin tone. So let's go ahead and get into those swatches right now.
All right, here is the outer packaging of the Saint and Sinner palette, and then you open up the doors and you see the Saint side on the left and the Sinner side on the right. We're going to go ahead and swatch the Saint side first, which is Absolution, Worship, Immaculate, and Chalice. For the first 4, you can see that Absolution is that glimmer shade. This is a very typical swatch for one of her glimmer shades. It's very consistent with her other palette. That shade Chalice is ridiculous in the foil there. Now I'm going to use my regular shader brush for Absolution. You can see that it doesn't work at all. That's also consistent with the other formula. One thing you're going to notice about these shimmer and foil shades is that they don't work super well with a brush like this. This is my preferred brush that I like to use to pat color on the lid. I have not had luck with a synthetic flat shader brush with these. I also haven't had much luck with a sponge tip applicator, which you're going to see in just a minute. But they do pack very well with a fingertip, and you may be able to play with different brushes that you own and have better luck than I did. So here's that sponge tip applicator, and we're going to go ahead and try to brush that on first, and you can see that that doesn't work. So let's go ahead and try to pack it on, and you can see that works just a little bit better. I find the same results on the eye as you're seeing on my arm. It just doesn't work, but I knew somebody was going to ask me about it, so I figured I would just do a little demo there. So this is the first set of 4. Overall, really great shadows. Honestly, I feel like these are best applied with a fingertip unless you're using them to blend into other shades and you don't want these to be the most prominent color. They will blend nicely with a brush, but it has to be something where you don't want a super big pop of color with a brush. If you're new to my channel, you are new to the wipe test, and this is supposed to simulate a long day of wear. And as you can see, almost every shadow does stain the skin, which means that you are going to get a longer lasting time, most likely, with shadows like these. I am not wearing a primer on my arm, so definitely keep that in mind, that a primer may even further extend the wear. Moving on to the next 4 in the Saint section, we have Sacred Heart, Amen, Sanctuary, and Heaven. These are also really good shades, very consistent in quality with the last ones. Amen is our first matte shade that we've seen, and you're going to see it's absolutely stinking gorgeous. Kat Von D knows how to rock a white matte. Heaven is also very unique to my collection. It is an absolutely beautiful pink silver duochrome. Look at that white. Oh my gosh, it's so pretty. It's so good. When Sanctuary comes back in focus, you'll be able to see that that one does pack on very well with a brush, and so does Heaven. Heaven actually packs on very well with a brush. I'm still working on my focusing issues. Every time I feel like it gets a little bit better, but we're still not perfect yet. Definitely my favorite in this quad. I don't know, either Amen or Heaven. They're both amazing. Really good. Actually, this is just a great quad overall. You're not going to believe this wipe test. You're not going to believe it. Oh no, look. Oh, what just happened? Amen is still there. Can I get an amen? Oh my gosh, I can't even believe it. That like never happens with white shades. But you can see Heaven does fade away, so you definitely want to use a primer with this or a glitter glue to make sure that Heaven does stick around. The other two stain pretty well as well. The last four on this side are Crucifix, Cathedral, Rosary, and Baptism. Another really strong set of four. Oh my gosh, that Cathedral. It's purple with a silver shift. It's so gorgeous. Baptism swatched really, really badly, so I just brought that back in. That may have been my fault because my pinky finger was the one that swatched it. It really is a nice shade. I don't think I like it quite as much as Amen, but it's still really good. Crucifix, no effort on the pigment there. Absolutely no effort. Cathedral does take some building with the brush. Baptism is really beautiful. It is a slight purple tint compared to Amen. Just a really, really nice shade. And again, just great quality here. Rosary is kind of the same as the issue that I had with Worship and Immaculate and Sacred Heart, in that, you know, they don't really work really well with this kind of brush, but you may be able to find a brush in your collection that works better. I haven't been able to find one in my collection. And with the wipe test, again, they are all still there, which is insanely impressive. That like never happens. Let's move on to the center side. We've got Rapture, Sabbath, Ashes, and Martyr. Rapture is that glimmer shade. You're going to see that in the tutorial all over my lid in just a minute. Sabbath is a black. It's not the blackest black in the world, but I don't hate on that. I really personally don't like a super black. That's just me. I rather have one that builds up, one that can blend into other shadows. I find a very intense black difficult to work with. Let's go ahead back in with that sponge tip applicator with Rapture, just to kind of show you that it will build a bit with the sponge tip applicator, but really a fingertip for me is the best. If you have long nails, you might want to take that into consideration when buying this palette. You can see that Sabbath really isn't that strong. Now, Ashes is an amazing shade. That glitter in there actually stays on the eye after application, which again is unheard of. Martyr is another beautiful matte shade. It is perfectly done. The pigmentation is amazing. It is a great transition color for a lot of skin tones. It's okay for me. It's a little deep for me, but I have used it and I do enjoy it. This is a very strong set of four as well. Definitely Ashes is my favorite, followed very closely by Martyr in this set. But I'm not hating on Rapture and Sabbath either. They're both good shades too. If you've seen the wipe test on my channel before, you know that this doesn't happen that often, that all of the shades hang out like this. I mean, the lasting power on this palette is sick. The next set of four, Devil, Revelation, Vestment, and Ministry. Devil is another really, really nice true orange shade. Revelation is similar in formula to Ashes in that it's kind of a matte base with glitter thrown into it, but it's like the way I always wanted the Too Faced glitter ones to be, and the one that Tarte had made. I mean, the glitter really does hang out there, which is so unusual. You can see absolutely no effort with Devil, super awesome. Revelation, also no effort. Vestment is a really cool teal brown. It doesn't really brush swatch very well, but I promise you it does apply to the lid if you're willing to use a fingertip, or if you find a brush that works better for you. It's a gorgeous, gorgeous teal brown shade. And Ministry, I feel like, does turn purple on the eye. It's very blue in the pan, but it definitely turns purple, and you can really see that in the swatch. There is a lot of brown investment, so definitely keep that in mind, because in the pan it does look more teal, but there really is a lot of brown in the undertone. And if you're going to use this just to kind of swirl in the outer corner or to deepen up a look, you're not going to get that punch of teal. The only way you're going to get that punch of teal is if you pack it onto the lids. The other shades are all awesome, except for, like I said, Ministry. Don't expect it to stay blue. It may turn purple on you. Wiping them away, again, pigmentation for the win. Just insane the way that it stains the skin. And this is not a permanent stain. It takes off very easily with makeup remover, but it will last on your lids all day long, at least from my personal experience. Moving on to the final set of 4, we have Exodus, Exorcism, Relic, and Stigmata. I thought Exodus was a really weird shade to include in here, to include a neon. I thought it was very odd, but I'm trying to figure out how to use it. I haven't used it yet on the eye. You can see that the swatch is really, really good on this. Exorcism is a bit weak on the swatch. This is probably my least favorite shade in the palette. Purples are notoriously hard to do, and I don't feel like they nailed it with Exorcism, but that's pretty much the only shade in the palette I feel like they didn't nail. Relic is wonderful. I have used that one in looks, and it blends really nicely with the other shades. And Stigmata, I have also used another gorgeous, gorgeous shade, and just very, very happy with these shadows overall. Favorite shadow of this set of 4 is Relic. Least favorite in the entire palette is Exorcism, but I'm still not hating on it. It's just my least favorite of the 24 shades. The 23 other ones are amazing. This one's just good. And again, all of them hanging out beautifully from the wipe test. Let's move on to Jenny's swatches. Jenny has a medium skin tone. She is of Filipino descent, and you can see how these look on her. That is the first set of 4. Here is the second set of 4 from the Saint side. Just Amen, just showing up gorgeous on her. Again, I need an Amen right here for Amen. It is beautiful. Sanctuary also looks really, really pretty on her. And then with Crucifix, Cathedral, Rosary, and Baptism. Cathedral is gorgeous. Rosary would be really nice packed on the lid for her. And you can really see how Crucifix shows up beautifully. And Baptism too, they're just really beautiful on her. Now we're moving on to the center side. These don't look quite as good on her, I think, as they do on me, especially with Martyr. It's starting to kind of blend into her skin tone a bit, but I think this would be a beautiful transition on her. Ashes really does ash out on her. I'd be curious to see what this would look like on her lid, but I would imagine this wouldn't flatter her as much as it flatters my skin tone or other skin tones. And you can see that Sabbath really doesn't show up as a true black. And the next one's Devil, Revelation, Vestment, and Ministry. I think I just did a bad swatch on Vestment. That's not Vestment's fault. I think that's my fault. But you can really see that purple showing through in Ministry, at least in my opinion. Devil is gorgeous. Revelation, again, gorgeous. And the final ones, Exorcism, again falls flat. The other ones are really good. I may not have swatched Relic enough on her with the brush, but it does show up nicely on her skin. I'm not sure if these necessarily flatter her skin tone, those yellow shades, very much. But I haven't worked very much with medium skin, so I can only speak so much to it. Hope you found those swatches helpful.
Now that you have seen the swatches of the palette, let's go ahead and I will show you a demo of how I got this look today. I do want to give the disclaimer because I've been getting more and more comments lately about, Jen, you really aren't talented at eyeshadow. I got one of the best backward compliments ever. The person said, I love watching your tutorials because you kind of suck at eyeshadow and I kind of suck too. So I know if you can't make it work, I probably won't be able to make it work either. And I thought that was pretty awesome. I don't really think I suck at eyeshadow, but I'm not a makeup artist, so you can kind of see if you're not a makeup artist, how you might be able to work with these shadows. I don't do super complicated looks, but that's good for some people. You know, it's not good for others, it's good for some people. So I hope you enjoy my demo. I'm gonna go ahead and show that to you right now.
All right, here's my demo of the look that I did today. We're going to start off with the Kat Von D eyeshadow primer. I do feel like my eyeshadow primer is drying out a bit. It's not as creamy as it was when I first got it. It's probably about time to let this go, but I did want to use it with this since it is the Kat Von D eye primer. I did want to use it. Now, I have been breaking into my bronzers as transition colors for with this palette because really there's only one shade that I can use as transition in here, and it's the one called Martyr. This is the shade Amen, and Amen is an amazing matte white shade. It is phenomenal, and you can see it right there. To deepen up the outer corner, we're going to go in with Crucifix, and I barely tapped my brush into the palette, and you can see how much pigment there is. I mean, it's just insanely pigmented. If you do get this, just keep that in mind that you want to very gently tap your brush for this and then build up slowly because it is intense. And I'm just blending that out a bit with a clean, fluffy brush. I decided I wanted to show you how these glimmer shades work, and I hadn't used Rapture yet, so we're going to go with some Too Faced glitter glue on the lid to make sure that that shade Rapture sticks. I do feel like you need a glitter glue with her glimmer formula. There it is. Let's go ahead and pat it on and see how it looks, and you can really see that shimmer and shine. All right, so here comes that rosary shade to try to deepen up the outer corner. I do wish I'd laid that down first, but it's working out okay. It's working out fine, and I can always tap Rapture over top of it if I need to. And this is just a teeny tiny little Coastal Scents brush that I love. Just bringing it up into the crease just a little bit, just to add a little more dimension. And then this is Baptism. I'm just adding that into the inner corner just so you can see a different lighter shade. And then back into Crucifix to deepen up the crease. Just kind of winging it out a tiny bit to try to get that triangle on my outer corner. And now into the shade Martyr to just bring it up on my brow bone just a little bit. It's very intense, and I really didn't like the way that it looked very much, so I tried to cover it up with Amen, which will also lighten up my brow bone a bit and just kind of soften up Martyr, because Martyr was just too strong for what I was going for. Blend, 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 blend. And just to show you a different shade, I dipped into Sanctuary for the lower lash line, and you can just see it goes on super easily, like it was only on there for a quick second. And then into Heaven, I'm just going to bring that all over the lower lash line to give a shine on the bottom. Now it does look a little bit weird, but it's going to look better with liner and lashes in just a second. Here it comes, and bam, there it is. So there's liner and lashes with it. And I do like the way this eye look came out. Of course, it is a little bit more bold, but I feel like this eyeshadow palette really lends itself to bold looks. You can get some more neutral looks out of it, but I feel like a bold look is really what the strength is for this palette. That's it for the eye look. Now on to the full review.
So all that business is now out of the way. Let's get into my full review. This is where we start getting really subjective in my personal opinions of this eyeshadow palette. So let's go ahead and start with the packaging. I do really love the packaging. It's absolutely beautiful. It is large, but not as large as some of her other holiday eyeshadow palettes, which I appreciate because, you know, I've got limited space as far as storing eyeshadow palettes at this point. I think it's absolutely gorgeous, the design. You can tell it was designed by a true artist. I mean, she definitely nailed the cathedral look here, don't you think? Really nailed it. The only thing that I don't like as a non-makeup artist is that I get really overwhelmed by the color selection and the way that it's set up. Like, I look at this and I go, oh my gosh, what am I even gonna do with that? Like, how do I even put these colors together? I'm gonna show you some pictures now that were captured from Reddit, and I think my Facebook group, I don't know, I'll put the sources down below of pictures that people have done where they've reorganized the shadows that kind of make them make more sense as far as the way that the colors are paired. And these pictures really helped me to kind of decide how I wanted to use these shades together, because I can tell you right now, you cannot just take a random shade from this and pair it with another random shade and it will work. Some palettes you can do that, where you can really just go anywhere and kind of go, you know, light on the inside, a medium shade in the middle and a deep shade on the outside, and do a little transition and you're done, and it doesn't matter which shade you use. This is not one of those palettes. This actually takes some thinking for me personally. I need to really process what colors look good together, thinking about the color wheel and all of that, and it definitely isn't a brainless eyeshadow palette for me. Also, with the color selection, there really isn't a lot in here that will set up the base of the look. So as you saw in the demo, I used the Hoola bronzer as my transition shade, and I really like doing that, just grabbing either a cool tone bronzer or a warm tone bronzer to set up this palette, because I feel like it really kind of gives a different base to the look. That's rather than using Martyr, which is the closest to a transition shade for me, because this is so warm. If I want to go a little cooler, I don't really want to use Martyr, so I can reach in for a cooler transition. If you're deeper, the shade Crucifix is really pigmented. Just make sure you're going in with a light hand, because whew, it can get really, really deep. So that may work as a transition for some people, but other than that, you really don't have a lot. As far as like brow bone highlights and blending colors, you've got Amen. You could probably use Baptism a bit, but you know, it's just not set up for that. This is set up for me. The best way I've found to use this is a supplemental palette. Using this, kind of setting up my base with another palette, and then using this and just kind of pulling, you know, 2 or 3 shades, or maybe even 4 shades from this palette for a look. As you can see today, I try to use as many colors as possible. So I did use more shades from this than I have in the past, but I definitely feel like this is not a standalone palette, and I don't think this is for people that don't have that artistic eye of what shades go together, because I've done a couple of looks that came out really bad because I picked the wrong colors. The finishes, I love that she did a variety of finishes. I have so much respect for the shade Ashes, and I'll tell you why. It's because I do have the Swamp Queen palette from Tarte, and that was made with Bunny Meyer from Graveyard Girl. And this is what I wanted the one shade in her palette to be. And what happens with that shade is that you swatch it and then you blow on it and all the glitter goes away. But with this shade, the glitter actually stays. I did my top 10 tips for shopping at Ulta and my BoxyCharm review where I was wearing a look using this palette, and I had this shade Ashes all over my lid. If you could see it up close, you would see that the sparkles really hung on there. I had very little fallout through the day, and I was so impressed with this shade. I've never had a shade like this that I liked as much as Ashes, where it's kind of got that matte base and then they throw the glitter in there, and it's just really gorgeous. I also did a look here with Martyr, Devil, and Revelation, and I really like that look a lot. I haven't dabbled as much in these brighter shades down here. For What's Up in Makeup, I did a look with Relic and Immaculate, and that looked really cool with the gold and the green. Oh my gosh, that came out amazing. So you can definitely get some beautiful looks because there are so many cool finishes in here. Like you saw today, I used Rapture as kind of a topper. With these 2 shades, just like in the Glimmer palette, you definitely want to use a glitter glue like you saw in the demo. Definitely want to use a glitter glue because these will be all over your face by the end of the day if you don't use a glitter glue. I feel like the rest of the shades, except for Cathedral, I feel like you can get away with not using a glitter glue and having it all over your face. The wear time of this eyeshadow palette is just what I would expect from Kat Von D. It is fantastic. I still have beautiful separation of color by the end of the day. I mean, this is 10, 11, 12 hours of wear, and I still have separation of color. You can still see the original eye look, which is very rare of a eyeshadow formula outside of Kat Von D. My Juvia's Place, I'm good. My Viseart, I'm good. And my Colored Rain, I'm good. But other than that, for my personal collection, I have a lot of trouble getting eyeshadows to last that long. And it doesn't seem to matter whether I use the Kat Von D eye primer or other eye primers in my collection. They all seem to work just as well, which really makes me happy. And one more thing I want to talk about mixing these shades together is that one thing that'll happen sometimes when you lay colors down next to each other is that they will kind of muddy together, or one will fade away and other will dominate. These really blend beautifully into each other and kind of create new shades when they're next to each other, which I love because you can really get super creative mixing these shades together to create completely different looks. So the final question is, who is this good for? Who is this not good for? Let's talk about who it's not good for. I would not buy this for my mother. There's no way in the world I would ever buy this for my mother. Someone like my mom who likes a bunch of neutral shades and just wears a basic eye look to work every day, this is definitely not for her. And you can look at this and kind of already know that. It's kind of like a no-brainer kind of thing. But I mean, you can create some neutral looks, but if you're looking for neutral looks, then you probably want to skip this palette. People that are beginners, I feel like, are going to get really frustrated with this palette, especially if you don't have that artistic eye. The last time I mentioned this, I had some critiques where people were saying, you know, well, nobody is born with an artistic eye, and I disagree with that. I feel like there are people that are born with specific talents because, you know, maybe their parents were artists. You know, you look at, you know, Claire from Claire and the Crosbys. I don't know if you know her, but she's this adorable little girl who sings beautifully. That is a talent that child was born with. She did not train. Of course, she's training to be better, but she was born with that talent. I feel like the same thing with being an artist. Some people are born with an eye to know how colors go together, and I feel like the rest of us kind of have to practice and work and train to get even close to those talented people like Kat Von D. So if you are not one that has a good eye for putting colors together, I would not recommend this just because it's very difficult to figure out what shades to go together unless you look for reference material online, other people that have done looks. My friend Nicole from Yay or Nay Nicole, I know she's working on a review of this with a bunch of different looks. Whenever she gets those videos up, which hopefully is soon, I will link those in the description down below so you can check those out in her different looks that she's created with this palette. But overall, it is a tricky palette to work with when it comes to the shade selection. If you are an artist, if you are tired of all of the same eyeshadow palettes, what do we need another neutral palette for? What do we need another warm eyeshadow palette for? This palette is for you. Okay, this is who I believe Kat Von D made this eyeshadow palette for the people that want to get creative, the people that want to try something new, for those Instagram artists, for people that like those bold eyeshadow looks. This palette is so for you, and I think you will really, really love it a lot. For me, I am very thankful to have it because it takes me out of my comfort zone. It makes me try something new. It makes me think of color in a new way, and I feel like this palette is making me a better artist, and I love that, and it makes me so happy in my heart, and I'm so thankful to have this. I'm so thankful Kat Von D came out with this and that she is pushing the boundaries of what typical eyeshadow palettes look like, and that she's doing something different and unique, and she's kind of going with her heart on it, and I respect that so much, and I am so thankful to have this palette. And you know, you just kind of have to decide for yourself, like always, whether what I've told you in this video will kind of make you go one way or the other. I would love to know your thoughts in the comments down below where you're kind of falling on this palette. Is it something you already own that you're really enjoying or don't like, or is it something you're thinking about purchasing? Which way are you going? Are you definitely not going to purchase it? Are you definitely going to purchase it? I gotta know. I want to know. Talk to me in the comments below. I want to hear all about it. Thank you so much for watching. If you're not already subscribed, you can click the subscribe button down below. I do put out 9 videos per week plus a weekly chat. We have 5 makeup minutes, which is makeup news, and then on Sundays we have our full-length makeup news show. Along with that, I do 3 other videos a week, tips, tricks, reviews, things like that. So if that sounds good to you, hit that subscribe button and the bell for notifications if you want to make sure you don't miss anything. And mad love to you, my friend, and I will see you in a video soon. Bye!